So friends, this Sunday, I want to acknowledge and start with acknowledging all of the care that we see around our world, all of the care that we see happening, all of the love and the expressions of love engaged in the world around us. So just think about all of the stories that you've seen. Think about everything that you've seen shared, how people have showed up in this time, how they have shown compassion, shown love, shown care. We can see care and compassion and love and heroic service all around us. We see giving all around us right now, in this moment. A funny thing that I've noticed as we see and acknowledge the giving, the care, the compassion, the heroic acts of service that we see in our world, a curious thing is that many, when they get acknowledgement for how they are showing up, many step back and say, I'm not a hero, I'm not heroic, I'm just a regular person, I'm just doing what I'm here to do, I'm doing what I should be doing. And they may even point to someone else. So I've seen a lot of people pointing to another in another profession or another act and saying, those people, those are the real heroes, not me. So it's an interesting thing that happens when the hero is denied. I have noticed that there's not a lot of people claiming themselves to be the hero, even when other people are acknowledging that aspect of themselves and feeling like someone is showing up in a heroic way. So what is happening with that? What is the underlying spiritual process that's going on? I think it's quite interesting. One of the things that I think is happening is that people are accessing one of the deepest reservoirs within themselves to show up for each other, to show up for the world, to show up for family, for self, for community, for nation, for earth, for the whole world. And this resistance to claiming heroic nature, I think, is really because what people are accessing when they give from this place, what people are witnessing when they see this giving happen, is divine. And the human condition often resists claiming the divine condition, right? We've been taught and we have learned, we've been educated into a system that the divine is something separate from us, right? It is something greater, it is something more wondrous than who and what we are. But when people see the activity of the expression of God in flesh, in embodiment, in compassion, in caring and giving, they praise it, they acknowledge it. So what's going on? There are heroic acts going on every day. There are heroic inventions going on every day. It's mothering. That's what's going on. It's divine mothering. One of the hallmarks of the feminine nature is the art of caring for one another, the ability to access and exercise deep and nourishing care. We often deny it because it seems so expansive. But it's a natural process and it's a natural part of all of us. It is a divine quality that can be developed and called out from within each one of us. It is God expressed and Goddess expressing, whatever you want to call it. And you know from scripture, and you've heard this so many times, it's not me but the Father who does the work. It's not me but the source who does the work. But how often do we say, it's not me but the mother who does the caring. It's not me but the nurturing. That's what I'm hearing every time I hear the hero denied in this walk of the hero's journey that we collectively experience. I hear, it's not me but the mother that does the work. It's the divine mothering that does the work. So that call, whether we claim it or whether we step back and go, oh, it's not me, it's here, it's there, it is everywhere. And friends, it is here to be celebrated. Mothering gives without receiving. It loves without return. It cares without warrant. It defends the defenseless, and it offers without anything having been earned. It's in every one of us, and we cannot afford to leave it undeveloped. We cannot afford to leave it in a place that it is not accessed. Divine mothering and the divine feminine is absolute, unchangeable, and it exists within all beings. It is in the fabric of our nature. And it's time that we unearth the divine feminine in all. I was watching and I shared a video of a TED Talk by Ron Finley. Ron Finley is a gardener, and he talks about South Central LA, and he talks about gardening, and he talks about how we need to make gardening the new sexy, and make having your garden and nourishing your garden and doing all of that, how we need to make that what is magnetic among us and in communities. He talks about drive-in restaurants, and he says drive-in fast food is killing more people, he says, than drive-by shootings. And so he starts working with these communities, and he has a history of working with communities, working with families, working with children, and engaging them in nourishing their food and making mothering, making that healthy process of taking care of ourselves, really caring for ourselves and learning to care for ourselves out of learning to care for plants and the earth and gardening. He brings that to life in a way that is transformative, that he is changing lives. We bring out the best in our community, and we bring out the best in the collective environment when we step into the energy of mothering and divine mothering, all of us. When we don't, we bring out the worst in ourselves, and we bring out the worst in others, and we perpetuate suffering, and we even pass along suffering. There are more than enough innovative ideas that embody divine mothering, that help lift people up, help nurture people so that then they can go on and take care of themselves, help create systems that utilize everything for good and everything for the greater good. That's what this divine spirit does. That's what the hero's journey is part of an awakening to that self within. But what often happens is that we get stuck. We get stuck in the human condition because we start to wait. We wait for someone else to give it to us. We wait for someone else to do it for us. We wait to receive it from where we should be getting it. We start wishing to be cared for, to be nurtured. Someone should do it. Someone could do it. We start looking for reciprocal relationships. I'm giving in this way to this one, so this friend or this family member or this environment should be giving back to me. If your mother didn't do a good job, it gives you the opportunity to do a good job for yourself. The past is the past. We live in this moment, and this moment is always ripe with possibilities. If you haven't felt that divine mother within, it's time to start feeling it. It's time to recognize that it is right there, and it is one of our greatest resources. When we haven't developed it, we wait and we suffer until we get it. And we can even wait to the point that we create physical illness for ourselves. Have you ever felt that within yourself? Have you ever felt this knowing that if you continue to feel sorry for yourself, if you continue to wait, if you continue to have a mindset that you are a victim, and you allow that to grow and expand, that you are like pressing out a war cry, pressing out a call for help, a cry for help that's getting louder and louder, but you don't see anyone coming. And in a moment of realization, you can step into the mindset where you go, this is actually dangerous. If I cry out loud this much, waiting for someone else or trying to get someone else's attention or trying to be saved, I may kill myself. I may injure myself. I may hurt my emotional well-being, my physical well-being, my spiritual well-being, my mental well-being. My mental well-being is suffering because of my grave need or desire for someone or something to show up and meet me, to hold me, to save me, to be here with me, to give back to me. Is a magnet. I've had my own experiences where I have felt it, where I have noticed where my mind is going, and I've been able to say, Erin, watch it. You're making this siren louder and louder and louder, hoping that someone will hear it. And having the realization, it's my body that's going to heal it. And my body is finally going to give me an example that is going to make people have to show up for me. Or my emotions are going to give me an experience that is going to require someone to show up for me and save me. Can we cut ourselves off before that happens and instead recognize that the siren going off is the siren that calls us within. The siren that calls us to breathe deeply into a moment, into every experience, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, and you fill in the blank. Whatever is going on for you, whatever is going on for your family, whether it's depression, whether it's addiction, whether it's thoughts of suicide, whether it's codependence, whether it's overeating, whether it's something light and simple and nothing, whether it's just, a little bit of loneliness, whether it's no one shows up for me as well as I show up for them. Where are the people that I show up? Abandonment issues. Whatever it is, this is how the world should be, or this is how people in my life should be. When we express that out in pain or in a pain body, as Eckhart Tolle would say, we have the opportunity to hear that siren and to go within and recognize that it is all the same thing. It is one thing. It is a call to develop the connection, to experience the connectedness with the divine within, with what we call God, what we call love, what we call wisdom. To begin to nourish that, to begin to develop that. So let's ask ourselves this week, what infringes upon your ability to care for yourself, to mother yourself? What infringes upon that? What is holding you back? What is the thing that says, I can't get this need met, that keeps us from going within to meet the need? Someone or something to do something to us or for us at the expense of our spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical health is simply out of alignment with wisdom. It's ordinary, it's natural, it's understandable, and it will never solve an issue. The issue will mutate, it will change forms, it will find another person, another job, another home, another situation, another state, another country, another place. It will find you wherever you are. And that's not a bad thing. That's part of the healing journey. That's part of waking up to the hero's journey. Blaming, feeling abandoned, thinking that everything in life should be exactly reciprocal rather than harmonious and balanced. thinking that if I give here, I should receive here, rather than knowing we live in a spiritual universe that is alive, that is balanced, and that all of life and all of nature simply gives without looking for, identifying, or requiring where it's going to receive from. Simply knowing that receiving happens. And that is how we become an inlet and an outlet of all that is God. That is healing ourselves. That is mothering ourselves. And when we don't mother ourselves, we pass on those pain bodies. We pass on that mentality. We pass on those habits, whether they be overeating or over drinking or overworking, whatever it is. We pass them on because essentially what we're passing on is a consciousness of abandonment of self. And that is learned. That is observed and it's learned. Do I abandon myself when I need myself the most? Do I abandon myself when I feel abandoned? Do I hurt myself when I'm in the most pain? Do I ignore myself when I feel unseen? Do I wait for another to rescue me? When we feel any or all of that going on, I invite us into this declaration. I call forth the Divine Mother within. I call forth the Divine Mother within. I have the wisdom to recognize that it's time to stop waiting for the world around me, and I value myself enough to know that I want to offer this family, this community, this planet, a whole being, a healed being, that I want to stop the cycles of suffering and engage the cycles of sourcing. Until we love ourselves with a God-like love, we will not know the fullness of peace. Until we demonstrate that in our own lives, we can't model it in our systems, in our communities, in our families. We can't teach it to our children until we have embodied it. So it may seem selfish to give oneself that kind of attention. It may seem egotistical to receive the praise when someone says you are a hero. But when that happens, they're not talking about the small sense of self, the separate sense of self. They are saying, I've seen God in you. I've seen God expressing as you. I see the goddess alive in you, and I am remembering something in myself. I am remembering something about all of our divine worth. I am remembering something about what is possible and what we're capable of. And you have lit that flame in me. The fire. I will call forth the Divine Mother within. Ernest Holmes says in his book, Living Without Fear, one definite experience which proves the integrity of man's spirit and its direct relationship to universal mind and spirit will do more for the individual than to know all the teachings of theology. For thus alone can she arrive at the place where he can say, I know that where I was blind, now I see. And I want to close with my favorite scripture from Proverbs 3:13 through 16. It's about Lady Wisdom. Happy are those who find wisdom and those who get understanding. For her income is better than silver and her revenue better than gold. She is more precious than jewels and nothing you desire can compare with her.